training has grown in popularity over the past 20 years, particularly for its role in improving strength, power and speed, muscle size, muscular endurance, balance and coordination. Now, traditionally, weight training was performed by athletes who wanted to get faster and stronger, or bodybuilders who wanted to get bigger. However, we now have a much better understanding of the health-related benefits of weight training, and it's now a really popular form of exercise that's recommended for everyone: kids, adults, the elderly, and people with disabilities. The key factor to successful weight training, whether you're a beginner or an experienced powerlifter, is understanding what you're doing, why you're doing it, and how to do it most effectively to get the training results you want. In this video, we'll discuss the fundamental principles you need to know before you start your weight training journey. So the first thing we need to think about is, what do you actually want to achieve from your weight training? Do you want to get stronger? Do you want to get bigger? Do you want to improve your muscular endurance? Or just give it a go to see what it's like? Now, it's really important to understand what you want to achieve from your weight training so you can plan what you need to do as effectively as possible. Someone who's looking to get stronger will need to do things slightly differently than someone who's looking to get bigger, for example. So the second thing you need to consider is, what exercises should you do? Should you use free weights or machine exercises? Now, in my opinion, free weights are the best weight training exercises to perform because they require the whole body to be working in unison to perform correctly. However, they do require specific techniques to be learned. And I always recommend a fitness professional to introduce you to the correct lifting techniques before starting them. Machine weights are a lot easier to use, are safe, and pretty much any gym has a selection for you to choose from. Now the question is, what exercise should you do? And is there any particular order that you should do them in? In general, and this is the same for both free weights and machine exercises, there are two types of exercises to choose from: single joint or multiple joint exercises. Single joint exercises are exercises that stress one joint or one major muscle group, and these tend to be slightly easier to perform as they aren't so technical and don't take too long to learn. Multiple joint exercises are exercises that stress more than one joint or muscle group, and these involve more complex exercises that take a little longer to learn but are probably the most effective for increasing strength and power. So what order should you do your exercises? And this really depends on what you've set out to achieve from your weight training. As a guide, there are three basic workout structures that you can follow. There's the total body workout, which involves exercises that stress all major muscle groups and are common among athletes and Olympic weightlifters. There's an upper-lower body split workout. This involves performing upper body exercises during one workout and lower body exercises during another. And these are common among powerlifters and bodybuilders. Then there's muscle group split routine. This involves performing exercises for specific muscle groups during the same workout. All three workout structures are effective for improving muscular fitness, and it all depends on what the aim of the training is, how long you can train for, how often you can train each week, and what your personal preference is. Depending on which workout routine you decide to go with, here are some general guidelines to follow to make sure you get the maximum benefit from your training. Always make sure you perform large muscle group exercises before small muscle group exercises. Perform multiple joint exercises before single joint exercises. Perform the most complex exercises before the more basic exercises. Always rotate upper and lower body exercises or push exercises followed by pull exercises. And always perform the most intense or heaviest exercises before the lower intensity or lighter exercises. So how much weight should you lift? How much weight you should lift depends on things like the order of the exercises performed, the number of times you repeat each exercise, and the amount of rest you have between each exercise. It also depends on how experienced you are at weight training, whether you're an absolute beginner or someone who's dabbled in it a bit, or an experienced lifter. If you're new to weight training and giving it a go for the first time, the amount of weight you lift is pretty much irrelevant. as the majority of strength improvements come from improved motor and coordination ability rather than increased muscle size, particularly as you learn correct techniques and form. As you get more experienced and more comfortable with the correct technique, this is when the weight lifted can be increased. Increasing the weight doesn't actually make your muscles bigger per se. What it does do is recruit more muscle fibres more efficiently and subsequently improves your strength. So here's some basic weight training terminology that you need to understand. Repetitions, or reps, are the number of times an exercise is performed. A set is a group of repetitions performed one after the other. And the load is simply the amount of weight assigned to an exercise set. These three things are really important because the number of times an exercise can be performed is actually inversely related to the amount of load lifted. So the heavier the load, the lower the number of repetitions that can be performed. An understanding of sets, reps and load is key to achieving the training results you're looking for. As a basic guide, to improve strength, you need to lift a load heavy enough that you can perform for a maximum of 6 repetitions and repeat between 2 to 6 sets. To improve size or get bigger, you need to lift a load slightly lighter that you can perform up to 12 repetitions and repeat between 3 to 6 sets. To improve power, you need to increase the load and reduce the number of repetitions to between 3 to 4 and repeating between 3 and 5 sets. Another key weight training principle, and one that I see overlooked all the time, is the rest you need between each set and between each exercise. The amount of rest significantly affects the metabolic, hormonal and cardiovascular response in the body and affects the training adaptation you're seeking to achieve, whether you're looking to get bigger, stronger or faster. Strength and power are compromised with short periods of rest because the energy system used do not have enough time to recover. However, shorter rest periods are more beneficial if you're looking to increase muscle size or improve muscular endurance. When training for absolute strength or power, rest periods of at least 3 to 5 minutes between sets are recommended, especially for multiple joint exercises. When training for increased muscle size, less rest between sets is more effective, and rest periods of between 30 seconds and a minute are recommended. These rest intervals stimulate an anabolic hormone response in the muscle cells and increases local blood flow, which is vital for increasing muscle size. Training to improve muscular endurance requires you to perform longer sets of higher repetitions with minimal recovery between sets, no more than 30 seconds. Minimising recovery between sets is really important for muscular endurance, so the necessary adaptations occur within the muscle. So an increase in mitochondria and capillary numbers to improve aerobic endurance. The number of training sessions performed each week is important to consider, as this will affect the results you're looking to achieve. For example, training with heavy loads increases the amount of recovery time needed before the next training session, especially for multiple joint exercises involving similar muscle groups. The use of extremely heavy loads may require up to 72 hours of recovery, whereas more moderate loads may need a little less recovery time. If you're new to weight training, you probably need longer rest periods because it can take longer than 2 days to fully recover from a previous session. I'd recommend beginners to allow 2 to 3 days rest between each weight training session, and more experienced individuals to allow 1 to 2 days rest between each session. If you like to train more frequently, then performing upper body sessions followed by lower body sessions is popular. Just make sure you allow adequate recovery time for each muscle group. As an example, I'd recommend either training Monday, Wednesday and Friday, especially if you're performing multi-muscle, multi-joint exercises, or an upper body, lower body split routine of upper body on Mondays, lower body on Tuesdays, upper body on Thursdays, and lower body on Fridays. Finally, and in my opinion, probably the most important principle of weight training is planning your training effectively and the importance of recovery. Ultimately, the goal of a weight training program is to either get bigger, stronger, more powerful, or improve endurance. Now, for improvements to occur, your training program must be systematically altered so that the body is forced to adapt. The adaptive processes of the human body will only respond if they are continually required to exert a greater magnitude of force to meet higher physiological demands. Now, there are several ways in which this can be introduced. The load can be increased or decreased depending on what your training goal is. Repetitions can be added to the current load. More sets can be added to increase the total volume, or rest periods may be shortened or lengthened. Without increasing the amount of weight you lift or the amount of repetitions you perform, the body is not going to adapt to achieve the results you want. Initially, the nervous system plays a significant role in improvements in strength, particularly when you first start weight training. The muscle fibres being used are recruited more efficiently, which account for early increases in strength and the subsequent increase in training load. Then, within 4 to 8 weeks, muscle fibres naturally increase in size and thickness. Now, in order for these now thicker and bigger muscle fibres to be recruited, more weight needs to be lifted again. This progressive overload is vital for any type of weight training, whether you're training to improve strength, size, power, or endurance. But it's useless if you don't plan for adequate rest or recovery to allow the body time to adapt. Let's look at a 4-week program as an example. So you're looking to improve strength. In week 1, you could perform 4 different exercises, 3 sets of 6 repetitions at a load that you can lift a maximum of 6 times. In week 2, you would keep the same load, but you would increase to 4 sets of 6 repetitions. In week 3, again keeping the same load, but you would increase to 5 sets of 6 repetitions. And then in week 4, you would reduce the number of sets to 3 sets of 6 repetitions. Alternatively, you could perform the same amount of sets and repetitions, but increase the load each time, increase in weeks 2 and 3, but importantly, reducing either the weight or the number of repetitions in week 4. Reducing either the number of repetitions or load in week 4 is vital to achieving the results you're looking for. Without an adequate recovery period, the body will not have enough time to recover and adapt, which will have the opposite effect and could lead to overtraining, injury, or illness. So there we have it, 7 fundamental principles of weight training. Know what you want to achieve from your weight training. The exercises you perform and the order in which you perform them is key. How much weight you lift depends on your training goal. Understanding sets, reps, and load is vital. Without the correct amount of rest or recovery time, you will not achieve your goals. Progressive overload is vital. If you don't stress the body enough to adapt, you'll never improve. And if you don't give the body enough time to recover and adapt, you will increase your risk of injury or illness. Make sure you subscribe by clicking on the link below and keep up to date on how to live a healthy, active lifestyle every day.